when I was told that I'm supposed to speak on the zero carbon world, I was immediately reminded of my grandmother, because my grandmother, when I was 10 years old, she was my first teacher. And she used to talk about in Hindi, which we call as Kala Dhua, Mitti Medal, which meant, in English, it meant put the carbon dioxide into the soil. And at that time, there were no terms used like carbon emission, carbon neutrality, zero carbon, climate change, global warming, nothing like that. Because this is what I'm talking about is something around 44 years ago. 44 years ago. And she would often, I would often sit on her lap and she would tell me stories about birds, bees, and butterflies. She would talk about environment. And I would share with her my experiences, which I used to have in my primary school. And I had a wonderful teacher by the name Mrs. Williams, who used to tell us, and mind you, uh, she would she very categorically told us right there in 1976 that when the year 2020 approaches, the period between 2020 and 2030, the planet will lose 70% of its population. And the moment 2020 started, just imagine my surprise that whatever is happening on the planet, she was almost like Nostradamus, you know. And she was a wonderful person from Sri Lanka. And she came as a missionary and she was teaching us in Pune. And she would tell a lot about environment and she would talk about soil, air, and water. We were in the fourth grade. And this sharing, I used to come in the afternoon and I would share with my grandmother. And I would tell her that this is what she says. And my grandmother, she used to make a summary out of all the teachings that my teacher would do at school. And she would say, remember one thing, respect your soil. Respect your soil. Keep a packet of soil always in your sacred spaces. Like we have here in our country, we have temples, we have our prayer homes. In every home we have a prayer place. And I would always keep some amount of soil, especially from my own plantation sites, and especially extracted from the trees which I had planted, especially the Bodhi tree, which we call as the Peepal tree. One of it. I don't know if on a white background. See, this is soil. And this is, she used to always say, this is the greatest in English. Now I can understand that it was in college and university, I really understood what she was trying to say. That the greatest carbon sink, the greatest carbon removal factor, the greatest gadget, the greatest super organism that can remove carbon dioxide, that can save us, that can allow Homo sapiens to live a comfortable, healthy, happy life is the soil. Now, how do you protect the soil? The soil would, she would often teach us how to make compost soil, the compost, the manure, right? And then she would always say that you need to keep the soil under plant life. You need to keep it under vegetation. You need to cover the soil. She would use a Hindi word called the Hari Chhatri, which means in English, green umbrella. So green umbrella basically meant that you need to cover your soil if you want to mitigate climate change. Now, this is something, since it's a very technical issue, it requires a lot of academic explanations to it. But as a person working on the ground, I would like to just say it in simple words that, as she would always say, every relationship should be 50-50. Mother Nature and us, the Homo sapiens and the other species at large. We and the rivers and the forests and the soil, if we have a 50-50 relationship, when we say a 50-50 relationship, It means that if we as human beings, as a dominant species, we just decide on just one thing, that we keep sacred some soil space, about 50% of our country's space, every individual country, every state, every city, every urban area, every rural area, every countryside. If we have a formula, whether it's the United Nations, the global partnership, all the countries put together, if we can all come together and we can just reach an understanding that we will have 50% of the soil space. I will not call it the land space, because the moment we use the word land space, it immediately brings the real estate into play. It immediately brings the factories and the industries and into play. So if we use the word soil, so if we can have a wonderful soil space, sacred soil space, which harbors our forests, our green spaces, our backyards, our schoolyards, our rivers, our mountains, our city parks, our urban spaces. If we can just keep 50% of the space for what we call as the green space, the soil, the air, and water gets taken care of. Good soil means good plantation. Good plantation will mean, what will it mean? It will mean good air. Good air will mean good health. Good plants, good vegetables, good fruits, good food. Everything is connected to the soil. Soil, if we have never been, uh, we've never been able to understand the importance of soil, even when we are talking about zero carbon. I personally feel, and with the kind of experience that I have on the ground, let me share this. I am so positive that if we work together, the governments, all the stakeholders, the citizens, the communities, and all the well meaning people, the civil society, within the next 5 to 7 years, within the next 10 years, maximum 10 years, we can achieve zero carbon world. Yes, we can. We can definitely do it. But of course, if we start planning for 2050, 2070, 2040, we should not, because honestly, I don't think so we'll be around till that time. We as a species have proven that we are quite irrelevant to the scheme of things on the planet. And pandemic has absolutely proven that. It is the cutting down of the green spaces, whether it was the bats, whether it was the pigs, what found way onto the dinner tables of whichever country, and then it came inside the human body, and we became the host to it. You know, these are very natural phenomena. We need to understand. We think we as humans, we have mastered AI, artificial intelligence, but we have not been able to understand VI, viral intelligence. Okay? And today we are talking about 2019, we are talking about COVID 19. 2020, we are talking about COVID 19. You never know. We can get an upgrade. We can get an upgrade next year. Then what will we do? The only thing which will save us is the natural world. What will save us? The natural world. And how can we save the natural world? By keeping aside, reaching an understanding, whether it is a global organization like the United Nations or the governments of the world. We need to have an understanding. Look at what Bhutan has done. Bhutan has kept aside 60%. They have written it in the constitution. You can read the constitution. You can study the constitution of Bhutan. The kingdom of Bhutan has kept aside 60% of their land for forests. And at present, at the time when I'm speaking to you, they have 72% forest cover. I'm not saying that every country can achieve that. No, I'm not even saying you do 60%. We can reach an understanding of 60%, but at least if we make an effort, at least we can go 50-50. 50% for human development, 50% for us, 50% where we put our factories and we put our special economic zones, we put our ports, we put our infrastructure projects and highways and cities and urban spaces, peri-urban spaces, schools, colleges, we put anything and everything over there. But 50% space, if we can just give it to green space, we have our parks, we have children parks, we have our farming areas, we have sacred agriculture areas, we have our pristine forests, we have our rivers, we have, we need to just reach an understanding, and this will be done. Now, there may not be so much time to discuss statistics, but let me tell you, when we plant trees, you basically, you mark out an area that is safe, for the soil. The soil, as a superorganism, it is the biggest bank, it is the biggest cause for removal of carbon and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, right? The problem is that we see things which are only manifest. We see things which are only which can be visible, which we can touch and feel. That is what we believe in. So trees are one way. Trees, farms, gardens. A very one thing I would like to share with you. My grandmother would always say, doctors, engineers, business graduates, chartered accountants are not the need of the hour. This is 44 years ago. And she would say, what we need is, now listen to this, we need gardeners, we need farmers, and we need foresters to save the planet. This is 44 years ago. And mind you, technology, machines, supercomputers will not save you. What can save you is right under your feet. It is called soil. We need to treat it with respect. We are standing on it. It is right. The solution is right under our feet, and we are not able to see it. What we have done with chemical farming, what we have done with by denuding the soil surface, by exposing our soils to the sun, that is the main cause of we don't know where to put our carbon in. No amount of technology can save us from whatever is going on in the urban areas and all over the planet. So therefore, my plea to the audiences over here, to all who are listening to me, would be to have respect for the soil. And I think tree plantation, what we do at Give Me Trees Trust, we run an organization called Give Me Trees Trust. And the entire network of volunteers, about 15,000 volunteers we have all over the country. We have worked in 18 states of India and 202 districts. When we talk about the Bodhi tree, why do we talk about the Bodhi tree? Because it's one of the largest canopy trees. It creates shade. We need to create a green umbrella. The more green umbrella you have over the soil, water and air, soil, water and forest, soil, water and forest. These are the only three components which are the natural carbon sinks. And to protect them, you need to have green umbrella. Urban spaces, half the global population is right now living in cities. Very soon, 70% will be there. So we need to include in the urban planning green spaces, from rooftops, balconies, open spaces, schoolyards, kitchen yards, everything. As much plantation as possible, as much green umbrella as possible. Okay, so with this, I would like to say bye, but I am very hopeful. I'm very hopeful that if we all work together, and I would, since we work a lot with children are very scared of the future. They often express it to us that we are so scared what's going to happen in the future. But if we work together and if we get our concepts on soil right, we don't need to go to any other technology. If we get our farmers right, if we get our gardens right, if we get our foresters right, I think zero carbon world is a reality we can see in the next 7 to 8 years, maximum 10 years. And please don't plan anything beyond 10 years, because if we don't do it right, if we don't do it now, we are not going to be there. we won't be talking to each other after 2030. So this is the time to act, and this is the time to understand this idea of keeping the soil space, keeping the soil as sacred spaces aside. 50-50, that is how it will work. Thank you.